About half a year ago, when the official F1 movie released, I thought to myself, hey, how many F1 movies are there? So I looked it up, and apparently there are only 4 real movies. However, I'm not going to be counting documentaries, because they are not really movies. But let me know if you'd like to see me make a video about ranking every documentary about F1. So let's get started with the very worst Formula 1 movie. And that one is Bobby Deerfield. And personally, I don't really think this is a true F1 movie, because it only had a couple of racing scenes. However, the racing scenes were pretty good, and they used real drivers, but it's incredibly long-winded, and it was quite a boring watch. Keep in mind that this movie is very old. It came out in 1977, and I don't think it calls itself a Formula 1 movie, but because it's about a Formula 1 driver and it has some Formula 1 scenes in it, and it uses real drivers for the driving scenes, I can't rank it higher than last.
Bruh.
So, moving on to the next one. And that one is Grand Prix from 1966. This one is actually pretty cool. It had some unique editing.
What the fuck is this?
And the visuals were great. However, the things I disliked about it were there were about 4 characters that were being followed throughout the movie. So my main issue with this film is the amount of filler it has in it. It causes the film to have a runtime of just a little bit under 3 hours, and that's just way too long for what the movie offers. However, if you have the time, I'd still recommend you watch it. Because this movie really shows how cool F1 used to be, especially in the older seasons, but also how dangerous it was. Unfortunately, because this movie is quite old, I can't rank it higher than 3rd, because the other 2 movies that I'm about to talk about are just way better. And second, we have F1 the movie. I love this movie. It's great. I love the visuals. It's legit just Top Gun, but with Formula 1 cars instead. And the fact that Hans Zimmer did such a great job on the soundtrack is also amazing. I think the soundtrack carries this movie more than people think. Also, the races felt pretty realistic in most aspects. However, I don't think crashing your car intentionally is going to fly with the FIA, and you probably get a penalty or your team gets a penalty. And the fact that they used real drivers and team principals in the movie is also a huge bonus point. Like I said, Apex GP has a lot of plot armor, and in the middle of the movie they get a penalty. And that penalty isn't because of their behavior of one of their drivers, it's because they have a faulty upgrade on their car. Which later is discovered that one of the board members has sabotaged them and forged the document. And it all just feels just a little bit convenient. However, I can forgive this because this is still a movie and it should be entertaining. And I understand that. But because of those issues, I can't rank it higher than number 2. So for my number 1 F1 movie, I have decided to choose Rush. I think the story is incredible. I know it's based on a real story and it follows Niki Lauda and James Hunt, but the way they filmed it, the way they made it, it feels amazing. It's fun to watch, and I don't think I was ever bored while watching the movie. And once again, Hans Zimmer made the soundtrack for this movie, and he made an amazing score for this movie again. I think he is one of the best, and I don't think no single F1 movie is complete without a proper Hans Zimmer soundtrack. But obviously with a great movie there are going to be some things that aren't so good. And for me there was only one real thing, and that was one of the scenes in the hospital where Lauda is getting his lungs vacuumed and cleaned. I almost puked during the scene. But this does not really impact my rating because this movie is not afraid to throw punches at you and try to shock you. This movie is a great representation of old school Formula 1 driving, and I'd recommend anyone to watch this if you are even remotely interested in Formula 1. So that was my ranking of every single F1 movie. I know it's kind of clickbait because there are only 4 and every sounds a lot better, but this is my first ever long form video on this channel. And I want to ask you guys, if you made it this far, consider subscribing and liking the video. And also let me know if you want me to make a video about every F1 documentary, because that seems quite a lot of fun to me. But with all that said, have a nice day.